On the outskirts of Wodzisław, a small town in southern Poland, at the edge of a forest, there is an old gravesite I want to show you today. It is located in such a secluded spot as a precaution, as the people who were buried there died during a cholera outbreak.
Cholera is a severe infection that can be fatal within hours if left untreated. Over the past 200 years, 7 cholera pandemics, global epidemics, have occurred, most in the 19th century, killing millions of people worldwide. Wodzisław was also affected. Epidemic cemeteries dotted the landscape. They were often located away from populated areas to minimize the risk of further contagion.
Such graves could be found near or within many of Polish towns and cities, but today most of them are forgotten. However, this one is marked with a memorial, so we should be able to find it.
The disease was linked to limited access to safe water and poor hygiene practices. In the 19th century, sanitary conditions were dreadful, not just in Wodzisław but almost everywhere. Streets and backyards were filled with filth. This created an environment ripe for the spread of various diseases, including cholera, which causes vomiting, relentless diarrhea, painful cramps, and, in many cases, a terrible death.
We are nearly there, and if you look very closely, you can probably spot karawaka there. Karawaka is a cholera cross, which marks the gravesite. There is no path leading to that place now, so we will have to traverse this field. And this is the place. As you can see, it is a bit overgrown, but clearly maintained. The wooden karawaka behind me was erected in 2018.
This type of cross, formed by a vertical post and 2 crossbars, originates from the city of Karavaca in Spain, once a popular pilgrimage site. The symbol spread eastward, becoming very popular in Poland from the late 18th to the early 20th century. These crosses were used as amulets against misfortune and disease. Eventually, karavakas became markers for epidemic cemeteries.
Someone must have visited this place recently and left this grave candle here.
Such cemeteries were usually small and modest. Many were hastily dug mass graves.
This site wasn't a mass grave, but from what I've learned, it was a cemetery with individual graves. A single old memorial is still here. It is weathered by the elements, so the epitaph is difficult to read.
However, at certain angle, the sunlight and shadows make the inscription easier to see. It reads: Anna born Cuglewska lived 53 years, although I'm not sure about the last digit. Died on the 7th of August, 1894. Asks for a Hail Mary. To a beloved mother, this tribute is offered by her children. Although this is the only monument remaining in the cemetery, Anna wasn't the only victim of the disease. We know that 262 people contracted cholera in Wodzisław during the 1894 epidemic, and 122 of them died. Many were buried here, but probably not all. In the late 19th century, Wodzisław had a population of about 4,000, of whom around 3,000 were Jewish. Most of the victims of the cholera outbreak were Jewish as well. They were likely buried in the Jewish cemetery on the northern outskirts of town. Wodzisław was one of the towns in the region hit hardest by the epidemic. Authorities tried to reduce the impact of the disease, and several hospitals were opened in major towns and cities for those infected with cholera. But there was a severe shortage of medical staff. At the time, in the Kielce Governorate, part of Congress Poland, a puppet state under the Russian Empire, there were fewer than 50 doctors and about 80 feldshers, mid-level medical practitioners who provided only basic or emergency treatment. Meanwhile, the population numbered nearly 800,000. Their methods were not very effective and were often questionable. To treat cholera in its early stages, it was recommended to use cinnamon mixed with cold water. Patients were given herbal medicines in the form of pills, powders, and plasters. Treatments included baths and massages of the abdomen and limbs using spirits, vinegar, garlic, camphor, or pepper. Often, doctors advised applying a cloth soaked in spirits in the center and water around the edges to the abdomen. This cloth would then be set on fire and extinguished once the patient felt pain. The anti-cholera infusion was popular at the time. It was prepared from roasted rye and spirits. People also burned piles of juniper, believed to purify the bad air. Additionally, it was recommended to rub the body with pork lard mixed with carbolic acid, and to freshen the air around the patient's bed. Guidelines were provided on how to maintain proper housing conditions, and residents were urged to carry out disinfection. Gazeta Kielecka, a regional newspaper, published the following instructions in 1892. Lime water, prepared from a pot of burnt unslaked lime mixed with 3 pots of water, should be poured into latrine pits and garbage pits to cover the entire surface of the waste. Mandatory disinfection with carbolic acid. 1 glass of carbolic acid diluted in 1.5 pots of water. The solution should be poured into drains and used to wash parts of the latrines. Ordinary people did not realize how easily infectious diseases could spread. In the previously mentioned Gazeta Kielecka, reporting on the 1894 cholera epidemic, it was noted that Jews organized loud anti-cholera ceremonies. They washed the corpses lying in homes, in the hospital, or at the cemetery. The water used for this washing flowed in streams onto the fields along a nearby road. There is also a police report dated 1831 from one of the earlier cholera outbreaks in Wodzisław, stating that Franciszek Sroczyński was fined because, despite an official order, he did not immediately bury his 2 children who had died of cholera, thus putting the whole community at risk. It is uncertain exactly how many people were laid to rest in the forest cemetery. Apart from Anna Cuglewska's grave, there are no visible traces of other burials. They were probably marked with simple wooden crosses that deteriorated over time. Considering that epidemics were common in the 19th century and earlier, there are probably more places like this scattered throughout the area. We just don't know about them. Curious about who Anna was, I asked around to see if anyone remembered a family by that name, and also checked some online resources. Here's what I found. She was born in 1840 in Wodzisław. Her first name was Elżbieta, but everyone called her by her second name, Anna. This was common practice at the time, though I'm not sure why. Her parents were Józef Ciszewski and Marianna, born Żelichowska. In 1862, she married Ludwik Stefan Idzi Cuglewski. The wedding took place in nearby Sędziszów, and that's where she lived with her husband. From what I've been told, she had a son, Alexander, but I haven't found information about her other children. The epitaph suggests she had at least 2. Maybe one of them was Antoni, who got married in 1896. His parents are listed as Anna and Stefan, which matches her and her husband's second names. Another could be Wodzisław, born in 1863. His mother's name Elżbieta is the same as Anna's first name, but his father's name, Stanisław, doesn't match her husband's names. Lastly, Anna Cuglewska appears on the parish list of people who died in Wodzisław in 1894. Memory fades. Before making this video, I didn't know Anna had ever existed. But now, you and we know her name. Even though it's not much, it's more than we know about the others buried in this forest.
If you enjoyed this video and would like me to create more content like this, remember to like and subscribe. See you next time.